Los Palominos, chatting and reminiscing with AC Cruz about everything from what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas to their annual Palomino Fest and Pro Rodeo, which raises thousands and thousands of dollars for the community of Uvalde, Texas. And their heart-wrenching story about losing their brother Jesse Ariola in a tragic bus accident in 2001. I'm Jackie Lynn. All this and more on this episode of Cruise Control with AC Cruz Behind the Mic.
Oh, thanks again, Jackie Lynn. So, welcome to my podcast, Cruise Control with AC Cruz. Jackie said that already, didn't she? All right, listen, first things first, I want to thank you guys for all the love that you're showing us here at the podcast. Is amazing. Everything that Jackie mentioned doesn't even begin to scratch the surface of what the Palominos have done. And believe you me, I found out a couple of things while doing this podcast. So, let's get the show on the road. And don't you know the Palominos showed up late?
Like always.
Like always. No, you guys are usually good at showing up on time, man.
La hora del músico.
Ándale. So what's going on, guys? You're great, man.
Thank you. We've been trying to survive, man. Trying to stay alive after all these years. You know, we want to thank our fans, you know, for pues manteniéndonos hasta este momento. You know, we've been doing it for 27 years already, and
no me digas que andas batallando porque ganaste Grammy que la chingada, que andas, no mames.
Ni se la cree, ¿verdad?
Sí, no se la cree. La cara, güey.
That's a bad way to start it, ¿verdad?
No doubt. Who the hell you think you're talking to? Come on now.
No, muy bien. ¿Cómo has estado así?
I'm good, man. It's good to see you guys. And it's been forever and a day, man. First of all, for the people that don't know who Los Palominos, and who doesn't know who the Palominos are, you guys started off from Uvalde, Texas, no?
Yes, sir.
Born and raised Uvalde, Texas.
So we're going to go ahead and cover the career of Los Palominos, not to mention telling some stories. I'm sure you have some. You better tell one right now, John.
Yeah, I have one right there.
Ay, dime.
Right there, the tip of my tongue.
Okay, okay.
It doesn't want to come out. I don't think.
So here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Cruise Control with AC Cruz Behind the Mic with Los Palominos. So, what's going on? What story do you have about me? Because I'm sure you got a couple.
There's a lot of them. No, AC. A lot of people don't know AC. Well, our fans, ¿verdad? When we first started out en el Valle, ¿verdad? Yo me acuerdo que donde quiera que entrabas AC en la radio, empezaba la radio de mero abajo. De repente, en unos cuantos meses, estabas a mero arriba.
I don't know like cuántos meses.
And it's one of those things, right? And, una historia que me acuerdo era, íbamos a Las Vegas. Me acuerdo que íbamos a Las Vegas.
Ya empezó mal la historia.
Que ya valió. Ya. Bueno, íbamos a Las Vegas. ¿No?
Okay, that's it. Thanks for coming, guys. It's over. Thank you so much.
What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. No, but this wasn't, we weren't yet in Vegas. We were in San Antonio Airport. So subimos al aeropuerto, subimos al avión.
I'm supposed to start with the story. Goddamn.
Well, it was just something donde me acuerdo que parece que estaba James platicando conmigo, nos sentamos juntos y luego que entras y te sientas and you sit down in one of the seats, right? Y luego entra Jan Ramírez, dije, a la madre, ya valió madre. Y no, estamos de sentado, ¿qué? Sentate tú. And then de repente estaban ahí, de repente comenzó, no me acuerdo si Jan Ramírez comenzó a decir algo y pues tú te volteaste y comenzaste a decir, oye, ¿se agarraron?
Ah, sí.
Sí, dan back and forth.
¿Cómo no andarías?
No te digo. I'm going to tell you right now, John Ramirez, although people thought that we were enemies, no, hombre. Yo lo conocí a pinche Johnny Ramírez hace mucho. Fuimos para Memphis. Y no, hombre, hicimos garras, ni te digo. I wanted him to come on the show for sure. Because he can tell some stories. But
me acuerdo porque y'all were one of the two happening DJs at the time, you know, tú del Valle y él acá en San Antonio, and then y'all were talking about something y se agarraron, nosotros no estamos acá escuchando y dije, ya valió, ¿no? and it was kind of exciting and interesting at the same time.
Well, since you mentioned Vegas, I remember that you guys played with La Mafia at the Hard Rock Cafe.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it was in the joint. And hombre, llegamos y luego yo y Robert Montalvo, he was a production director that worked with at ¿Qué pasa? Excuse me. We started drinking. I started drinking. He doesn't drink. Long story longer. I love to say that one of the big honchos from Sony Discos invited me to the... Anyway, I said, okay. He said, I'll pay for you. I said, all right. But nombre, it was almost showtime. Yo, I just crashed out, man. Out of the room. So I woke up about 1 o'clock in the morning. I said, what happened? The show's over.
The show. What happened to the show and you missed it?
No, man.
Nowhere to be seen, huh?
Nowhere to be seen. Anyway, so I stayed up all night gambling and making a little bit of money. And then I woke up about 7 in the morning. Dice este Montalvo, dice, I'll never forget, you woke up 7 in the morning because our flight was leaving at 10. It was a Sunday morning. And you woke up encuerado y estabas you opened up the balcony doors. You said, I love this town. So I put on my suit. We're leaving the Hard Rock. And I said, you know what? Let me shoot some craps real quick. I was shooting craps. And the guy says, sir, I'm just talking shit. You know me. Anyway, he says, sir, we're going to have to ask you to watch your language. I said, pardon my fucking French. Anyway, so I made my money back, like I want to say $1,800. And we were late to the airport. We held the plane. I don't know if you remember or not, because I get on and everybody's like, what? Why don't we leave? This is before you had to show up an hour early. Anyway, we held up the plane. It was me holding up the plane because I got there late. And then when I got on the plane, I saw you, La Mafia, all the other DJs from all over the state, the record reps, and I said, I love this town. Y luego pinche Johnny Ramirez says, sit down and shut up. And then I said, you know what? Drinks are on me. And I pulled up this water cask that I just won at the Hard Rock. I sit down. I told the flight attendant, give everybody a drink. And I chingay. No, hombre, I fell asleep. And I woke up with the same water cash, so I doubt I paid for this.
That's the way to do it.
Ay, Dios mío. Thanks a lot, Johnny.
That was a good memory, you know?
Oh, man. There's many more.
That was back in 90, I think it was like 95. No,
95 or 96.
Presented was the gold album for El Ganador, which was our 4 CD with Sony at the Joint, me acuerdo.
At the Joint, remember? Yeah, the Joint. Listen, I want to get to that, but we'll do that in a minute. Let's go ahead and start with when the Palominos got started. Because if I'm not mistaken, you guys started with a muñeco name or los pequeños, algo así.
Los tremendos pequeños.
Ándale.
Yeah. We were back in the 80s, no? 80. When we started the band? Maybe 85, 86. Todos hermanos. Obviously, obviamente la música nos viene de mi papá. You know, our dad was a musician back in the day, back in the 70s, locally. And that's where we nos viene de la música. And we started the band in 80, I think it was like mid-80s. And as Los Tremendos Pequeños, we were all little. So my dad puso el nombre de Los Tremendos Pequeños.
Now, when you say little, how old were you?
I was the oldest, so I was like 12.
Wow. And you were playing the accordion already?
I was playing the accordion, yes, sir.
And you, besides playing yourself?
I was... Not yet. I was 10 years old.
No sabía.
I was too young.
What is this for?
Yeah, I was 10 years old and I was playing. I used to play. When we first started, actually, it was me, my brother Johnny, and then it was my dad and my brother Jesse. And paz descanse, ¿verdad? Que tocaba los drums because George was still too young to even be able to carry the bass. He was too young. So it was my dad used to help us out. I used to play bass. My dad used to play bajo. So then once George got a little older, then I picked up the bajo and George picked up the bass. So that's how we completed the four brothers. Los
Wow.
Yeah.
And you know what? I hate to bring it up, but I have to. Que paz descanse Jesse, man.
Yeah.
Please tell me, I mean, do you guys do anything annually for him or just remember?
You know, as a family, he's always remembered, man. As a family, we always tend to bring his name up, and you know, especially as guys on the road, you know, because it's like it's one thing we tell people, and it's like there's a lot of bands out there that have, you know, gone through tragedy like we have, and a lot of times it's a bunch of friends or a bunch of, when it's your brother, it's a completely different story.
Now, when it comes to the listeners that we just got or we that really don't know what happened exactly, if you don't mind sharing with me.
It's been it was right before 9/11, which is February of 2001. We had performed in Port Lavaca. This is I think it was like Super Bowl weekend or something around there. We had performed in Port Lavaca. We did Zapata that Friday, and then Saturday we did Port Lavaca. And then on Sunday afternoon, after we checked out of the hotel, we were driving towards, we were going to do Carn City or Kennedy or something like that. And the show was already sold out. Everything was, and we were just waiting for us to get there. And I remember my brother, fíjate cómo son las cosas. He was gonna leave with the roadies, with the road crew, with the truck and everything, to go set up because we were gonna cook out, do a cookout or whatever for everybody or whatever there, una carne asada ahí. And so I guess he called home or something. He called home. And nobody answered, so he was one of those people that he would tell his wife whatever he was gonna do, right? So if his wife would have answered, he would say, I'm gonna go with him earlier, with the guys, with the roadies, and the guys will stay behind and we'll get there later. So I remember that he called and she didn't answer. So just because she didn't answer, he stayed, and then we checked out or whatever, 1:00 in the afternoon, and we got on the bus and we took off from Port Lavaca. So Port Lavaca, Highway 87 is the one that hits. I guess 87 goes to Victoria from Port Lavaca. That's the way to get back to Victoria. I remember looking for something to eat. We were going to eat and then head out to Carn City, which is maybe 3 hours, 3.5 hours. We couldn't find anything to eat. Little town of Port Lavaca, and nothing that we liked or whatever. So we said, let's just take off. And we didn't take 87. The driver said, no, this other road. He took off on the road going the direction to Victoria. And he said, Jesse's the one that said, the driver said, you know what? This is not the road. This is not 87. This is not the one that goes to Victoria. And then Jesse said, well, is this? And they were looking at the map, and he was like, well, this road leads over there anyway, right? Yeah, it'll eventually hit 87. It's just the back road. Okay, no está bueno, dale, ¿estás seguro? Jesse dijo, ya, dale. So le dimos. And what happened here was, it was a freak accident because we were going 60 miles an hour, and it was like a farm road. So I don't know if it was maybe 100 yards or maybe less, no? That hacía una curva.
Like an L.
Like a curve.
Yeah.
And we could see that there was a blinking light, and there was a T, and there was a labor to the other side. So a bus, you can't stop it just like a car,
no,
you know. So the guy said, man, agárrense, se va a acabar el camino, agárrense, hang on. So we hang on, and because there should have been an aviso, like some kind of a warning that there was a blinking light, whatever, how many yards it was. And I remember just grabbing, we just grabbed up to our seats or whatever. And the bus just went airborne, and out of the road, because he was fearing that nobody would coming this way or this way. Yeah, I'm gonna go into La Labor. So, but what we didn't anticipate was that there was a 4-foot ditch. You know how they use it in La Labores, from here to the wall, and it was 4 feet high. So the bus went airborne, and it hit the other side of that before it hit La Labor, right? It hit like that, and it bounced, it hit and up like that. And I remember Jesse was right in the front talking to the driver. So that's what happened. So, but a lot of people don't know because we never talk about it.
Yeah, exactly.
And
I hope you don't mind me asking, but you got lots of fans.
No problem. No, because I'm sure that a lot of people want to know what's going on and what happened. And some people say, well, he just died, or what happened? He fell. He was eventually ejected from the bus.
And for many people didn't know, he had just gone through leukemia. He had been diagnosed with leukemia maybe about a year and a half or 2 years prior to that. When the accident happened, he was already in remission, but he kept on saying, I remember having conversations with him, late at night, and he would say, "Man, this is the worst experience I've ever had in my life." He goes, and I wouldn't deserve this on my worst enemy. He goes, it's a really bad disease. It's everything that has to do with it. He goes, it's the worst thing that anybody could go through. And he said, and if I were to ever be diagnosed with a disease again, I'd rather die than going through the whole treatment.
There was a treatment, the side effects with the chemo and stuff. Yeah. And I remember because he lived across the street from me, and we would always talk. When he was going through that, he would have that catheter and stuff on his chest, and he would say, "Man, the day I die, I want to die like that." And it's like they say, when you prophesy something, it happens, and que cosas que íbamos todos en el autobús, and nomás él. Sí. He was ejected from the bus, and we didn't see him. That's another thing, that the last time we saw him, he was smiling, he was talking. We were all in the front of the bus watching a movie, and next thing you know, we don't see him at all. And then the funeral was a closed casket, but we never saw him. Is one of the things that was weird, that we never saw him dead.
Do you prefer it that way?
I think I think
I would as well.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I would have able to, even if he died with leukemia, you know, I think it would be worse for us to live with it, to, you know, just see him there helpless or whatever, you know, and like see him different suffering and stuff like that. This, we just saw him one day, and then 1 minute we didn't see him. So, and also what helped us also was, it took us 6-7 months to get back on the road, you know. And once we got it back on the road, it was kind of like reliving the funeral again, because for like the next couple of years, every time people were lined up for pictures and autographs and stuff like that, it was puro condolences. Pésame, and sorry for your brothers and for your loss, and you know. But it was kind of like a therapy also for us.
I would imagine, because I would think that people, obviously your fans sending their condolences makes you feel kind of good, no?
Yeah. I mean, it makes you realize that. I mean, it makes you realize, you know, human beings. You know, it's like we all have feelings. You know, we have. You know, we all deal with tragedy like that in a certain way, and you know, for us, you know, the absence of being off the road for 6 months was one thing, but then going back on the road, I think was part of the therapy also, to get back on to doing what we were doing before.
And you know, 2011 was really rough because of Jesse's passing, 9/11, September, with the Twin Towers, and then right after that, a couple days later, the bridge over in SPI.
Oh yeah, it just collapsed.
I remember that one.
Yeah.
You know, it was a lot of things that happened, and como digo también, you never know how many. Nosotros, we were just working and touring and you know, doing the regular thing that we always did. You never know how many people you touch until something like that happened. You know, like it was overwhelming, the funeral. Sure. People couldn't, you know, we couldn't fit the people, you know, and then at the funeral, at the cemetery, you know, it just swarmed with people, you know, and reporters and all kinds of cameras and TV shows, and to me, everything now that I look back, it's kind of like it was like a blur, you know. It's like you remember but don't remember. It's kind of like one of those things that, you know, we went through that period, like, you know, it was like a surreal thing, you know, and it was it's in your mind, but it's kind of like in the, you know, everything was a blur. How
about his family? If you don't mind me asking, his
family, his widow, she's there in Uvalde, and this is another thing that happened. And I get God, everything happens for a reason, you know. They were married 9 years before all this happened, before the leukemia, before the accident, and they tried to conceive children, and they couldn't have kids. And I remember when they were going to give him the chemo, they said, "Hey, do you want to freeze some sperm? You know, just in case, because when you have your chemo treatment, it reduces you the chances of having, you know, children." Mm-hmm. And he said, "Nah, what the hell? I don't. We can't have kids anyway. So I don't want to do that." Yeah. You know, so he just did that. So this is 97. You know, like when he was first diagnosed, and they did the treatment 97, 98, 2001. His wife was already 3 months pregnant.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And when he passed away, she was pregnant 3 months, and then he had a daughter eventually born in May. In May. And fíjate cómo son las cosas. Esa familia, pues, you know, our family's all músicos. You know, ella, we didn't see her for, when was the first time that we actually met her? Like 9 years old, 8 years old. Because she was kind of bitter for a while. That you don't know a quién culpar, right? And los culpaban nosotros que whatever, like, how are we gonna kill our brother, you know? But she would say that, you know, hey, y'all killed my husband, whatever. Why him and not y'all? And
I was talking to Javier Galvan about these stages of mourning. You know, how you have denial, and we're talking about Jimmy Gonzalez, and one of the stages that I mentioned was anger. Obviously, she was going through that stage.
She went through that stage, anger, and she was bitter for a while. Eventually, después de que la conocimos, she was 8, 9 years old. She's now 17.
I think so.
And but back then, ya empezamos a platicar, and she started coming around. And the little girl because the little girl was 8 years old, and she would always ask about her dad. And her dad, and there's questions she couldn't answer. How was my dad on the road, and how my dad did whatever. So it led her to, you know, to eventually come talk to us, so we can whatever, right?
Awesome.
I guess everything works for a reason, you know.
Sure.
And she was talking to us when she was like, it was like 9. She was 9 years old. She said, like 2 years ago, we were at a party, and like a little gathering, and they had a DJ. Y dice, y esta nomás de repente, Mom, I want to sing.
Ándale.
So, y yo, sí, ma, sí, yo estaba platicando acá con la comadre. No, dice, sí, mija, ahorita. And I'm going to go tell the DJ that I want to sing a song. Sí, mija, ahorita, sí. Then she siguió platicando con la señora. Before you knew it, the DJ was like, we have a surprise here for everybody, you know, that we have this little girl who's going to sing. Her name is Jessica Arreola. And she starts singing. And she was like freaking out because she would sing everything. She was in tune and everything. So right now she sings. And she, I think she just came out with a song and a video
awesome.
Of Christian music. That's what
right
she
on.
sings.
Good for
Pero she dice, es como dice mi parents, no dicen mis parents, you know, cuando tiene la música en la sangre, because her family, no, they're not nothing to do with music, you know. Y ella de repente nomás salió cantando, it's my brother's, you know, my brother's blood. It's it.
Well, you know what? Que en paz descanse tu hermano Jesse Arreola. He was a good man.
Yeah,
and
sure
I'll never forget the Unplugged that we did. Man. You got, was it 3-part or 4-part harmony? When you did the tribute to Conjunto Bernal.
Oh, we did a 3-part harmony, yeah.
3-part.
The way Bernal would sing back in the day. Yeah.
I know. Do you remember doing that Unplugged?
Oh, yeah.
You know what? I liked it because it started with Michael, and then it went with Limite, and then you guys were next. Mm-hmm. And you're like, let's show them how it's done.
it was crazy. The setup was easy. I remember exactly. It was at the Tejano Saloon. Now it's called the Aragon or whatever it's called. But I remember setting up in the middle. Like
it's like a theater in the round.
Exactly. Well, like we did, and then we did set up a surround sound. Like we'd set up speakers everywhere around. So it was more like a surround sound, and people were like, kind of like a palenque kind of thing.
Exactly,
you know?
exactly.
And I remember, you know, people got excited, and me acuerdo que around that time was cuando we had era cuando Jesse was going to the leukemia,
sí.
And we recorded Te Seguiré. A lot of people don't know that el album Te Seguiré was recorded with Julio, my brother,
sí.
Because Jesse was in hospital, and Sony was over here on our ass. Hey, we need an album. They didn't consider my brother was, you know, sick. But I guess they have to do what they have to do.
Don't get me started on record labels. Don't get me started on record labels. Anyway.
So we went and recorded the album, and we used Julio, and Julio was pretty más o menos agarraba la onda. He's real musically inclined. He plays different kinds of instruments right now. His drums is el fuerte de él, ¿verdad? Pero back in the day, we were going to use Michael de la Mafia, Michael Aguilar. You know, and but he didn't have the feel that Jesse and Mando was freaking out because dice, este toca igualito, sí. Nomás que le falta un poco el tiempo.
Sí.
Dice, pero toca igualito, pues, I mean, he was the sound guy, he was our main sound guy.
Remember.
So digo yo, pues, tanto años nomás estar viendo y agarró la onda, he knows.
Estaba con madre, man.
Exactly, because en ese tiempo ya, no sé si estaba Jesse para atrás, ¿verdad? Vino Jesse para atrás, in 98.
He would do some songs.
He would do some songs, and then we had Julio. So with Julio, me and James, we did the 3-part harmony. It was great. I mean, I know you recorded it. You had it.
But who has a copy?
I don't know.
I
was gonna ask you that.
I'm gonna show you something right now. Now tell the listeners what it is. They're called. Nobody has these anymore. They're like dinosaurs. They're called DATs.
DATs.
Imagine who's on these DATs.
A ver, aquí you got Límite, Más, and Eli de Diamante.
¿Cómo es?
Yeah.
I can't play them. Nobody has that player. But that's gold.
Yeah.
¿A poco no?
Right there, yeah.
So whoever has the DAT of Palominos Unplugged at Tejano Saloon, cough it up.
Somebody stole it.
No doubt, man.
Pero no, bastantes experiencias en aquel tiempo. La música de nosotros estaba muy tocada en el Valle y pues todavía, gracias a Dios, gracias al público. Pero el Valle ha sido nuestra más fuerte plaza, una de las plazas más fuertes de Palominos aquí en Texas.
Jane, what's your favorite place to
My
play?
favorite place. I guess I don't have a favorite. I just enjoy doing what I do. I guess for as long as I've been doing it. I think every place has its reason, like it's different reason as to why we like being there. Some places is because people like to sing really loud. Others because people like to dance, and so I mean that's in 27 years that we've been doing what we do is like it becomes one of those things where you know, ya sabes, conoces las plazas y no sabes cómo es la gente, ya sabes, tienes muchos amigos, tienes mucha gente que te acompaña y ya más o menos reconoces lo que es la reacción de la gente. Solo.
Oye, hermano, we talking about being from Uvalde, and did you know, I didn't know this until recently, I did my research, puro pinche pedo.
¿Quién te platicó el chisme?
El Google ahí está todo.
Tengo un camarada que dice, Googlelo. Anyway, I didn't know that Matthew McConaughey is from Uvalde.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right.
All right.
You go to Uvalde, actually, on Getty Street, there's a historical place that has been there since 1800s. I think it's called the Uvalde Opera House, and they have like plays and stuff like that. Well, that's what that place used to be since a long time ago. And on the side of Getty Street, on the wall of the building, they have 4 plaques, and it's Matthew McConaughey, Del Evans, Los Palominos, and then there's one other guy that I think had to do with the sketches from the Western movies or something like that. Really? That he also used to be from Uvalde.
Yeah, I
so that's like a landmark, and we're part of it.
Speaking of landmarks, the reason I was bringing this up about Uvalde, you guys have Palomino Fest, which has grown and grown and grown. Please tell us about Palomino Fest, man.
Yeah, Palomino Fest, we started back in 96, and era porque we wanted to give back to Uvalde, or kind of like do a free concert, para la gente que, hay mucha gente que va a los bailes, hay gente que no, hay gente que son más para familiar, ¿verdad? We used to play back in the day, the Cinco de Mayo little festivals that they had, or the Sacred Heart Church. We approached those two different organizations, that we wanted to play for free. And both of them declined. One of them said, it's going to get too congested, the traffic. And they were worried more about the traffic than Palomino's playing for them. And this was back in 96, this is at our peak of our career,
Yeah.
And we approached Sacred Heart también. He said, well, you know what, we'll fence it and we'll do this and whatever. Tampoco dijo el parecito, no, I think it's going to get too crazy. 2 years later, now he's doing it. They're bringing all these Tejano acts. Back in the day, era puro local bands.
Sí.
Pero, so we said, everybody's declining and everybody's not wanting us. Let's rent the fairgrounds. So we went and checked out the fairgrounds. Hombre, estaban teniendo stables que se estaban cayendo, and el zacate como 4 o 5 pies de alto, and it hadn't been used in a long time. I don't know if you remember the Cactus Jack Festival or the Teach the Children. There's a guy from the name of Tommy Flores that lives here in San Antonio. He used to live in Uvalde. He used to do a Teach the Children, which was for school supplies and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
But ni un festival que hacían ahí, ninguno levantaba más de 800,000 personas, And we just decided, let's do this fest. We'll call it Summer Fest. And we'll give whatever we have. If we make any money, we'll give to whatever charities here in Uvalde. We had, I remember it was us, we had a bunch of local bands, and we had like 800 people the first year. 97, we took, the first time we took Emilio, and it was us and other band, Macizo and some other bands. We had like 2,000 people. And then the third year, it grew to 3,000, and it went like that. So I think it was like in 2000, or 99 that we changed the name. So you know what? Let's name it Palomino Fest, and let's do it on Labor Day weekend, because the Monday, a lot of people will work, and it's a holiday. So we started bringing, and it another 2-3 years, and it grew to 5,000-6,000 people. But by then, the volunteers and all that, to gather all that stuff and all the work that we put in it was a lot of work, So the college there in Uvalde, the South Texas Junior College there in Uvalde, decided to take over. And we said, yeah, we'll do this and whatever. We made it a nonprofit organization. Sure. And so we could get sponsorships and stuff like that. Awesome. So since then, it's grown.
Oh, yeah.
And now we made it a 3-day event, awesome. And with a carnival and a rodeo going on at the same time.
I will tell you this. The 1 year that I went with those Frijoles Romanticos.
Oh, yeah.
Now, mind you, I don't know why. I don't know. Don't ask me why, but I decided to be sober for quite a while. So I was drinking O'Doul, that non-alcoholic beer. I didn't stay sober because I drank a whole case by myself. Anyway, long story longer again. What's the name of that river that runs through?
Frio or
the Frio?
Nice.
Epi and the guys from Frijoles, they said they got video of my fat ass floating on the Frio. I had a blast, man. But But anyway, that's awesome. Congratulations on Palomino Fest.
Thank you
sir.
very much.
Oye, hablando de colegio y todo eso, are any of your kids going to college?
No, well, fíjate, that's another thing that after a while, you know, I guess like ahí en the people that they started getting more interest in Palomino Fest. You know, the people that are in the committee now, they went to school with us, and one of them, he's now the president of the college, and he went to school with us also. So I think like 3-4 years ago, he called me in, you know, just out of the blue, called me, come in my office, Johnny, and I talk to you. Okay, and when he talked, and he was like, he presented me a paper. Here, read it. And it said, you know, he had passed that paper through the board and everything, and it said that we have us, our kids, and our wives have free college for life.
Oh my God!
Books and tuition and stuff, because we don't make a penny off of Palomino Fest, and a lot of people were freaking out. Man, there's thousands of dollars that are made, you know, with concession, with ticket entrance. You know, it's like we're up to 20,000-30,000 people, you know, and we don't make a penny, and they wouldn't believe us, you know, we don't make, you know how the gente son in little towns, no, que te están robando dinero, que este otro, whatever, and they had to prove, you know, because when they went to the city like 3-4 years ago, to the city of Uvalde, at that city council meeting, and asked for sponsorship. That's all we needed, the city to kind of put part in it.
Yeah.
And they said only one condition, Palomino, we want to ask a question, Palomino's getting paid? I said, no, Palomino's zero. Well, we need proof of that. So they brought in all the information papers or whatever. Sí, luego nomás dijeron, who do we make the check out to?
Yeah.
They said, we'll make it to, it's called Uvalde Festivals and Association.
Yeah.
Okay, $50,000.
Wow.
You know, and because, you know, we do it out of our heart. You know, we did it just to give back, and it's the name. It's an established festival. You know, and we're proud of it. What we bring in and whatever se hace ahí, the college están en charge de todo lo que hacen.
So now now you got tuition is paid for.
If I want to go to college, I can go to college. You know, my kids or my wife or whoever.
That is awesome. This is why I'm doing this podcast. Shit like that you don't know. But behind this mic, you found out. These guys are going to college. Maybe not now.
Not now,
and they're not going to be participating in those frat houses parties and shit.
Yeah. But, you know, son cosas que we don't talk in interviews or whatever, because we don't get asked simply because of that, right?
That's why you guys like hanging out with me.
Exactly.
You like
you ask the questions nobody else will ask, right?
Don't I though?
Yeah.
It gets real.
It gets real. I like that. Listen, I love doing promotion. Hicimos un evento con ustedes. Fue el Rio Grande Valley Livestock Show and Rodeo. Now, mind you, the year before we did it with Tropa F, and they had us underneath a pavilion. But the pavilion was so freaking packed. Tropa F, hotter than ever. Anyway, so the following year, we needed another group, but we moved it to the football field.
Oh, yeah.
So the Palominos were headlining, and you guys were on stage. But before you got on stage, I don't know, it was not my idea.
Whose idea was it?
No, it was not. I think it was my general manager. But anyway, Palomino, let's bring him in on a wagon pulled by Palomino horses, and they would go from the wagon onto the stage. I said, okay, fine. Right about midfield.
Deja tú, yo me hice el valiente, yo me subo un caballo.
Put up those pictures right there in front of you. Put up those pictures. Share with the listening audience.
It's James and Jesse on a wagon.
Yeah.
It was me performing there, and it's George.
But those horses.
Wow, look at the sea of people there. Sí, se ve.
But those horses scared the shit out of those people.
No, deja tú. Yo no estaba ahí porque dije, ya me subo el caballo. So I got on a horse, right? And an actual horse. And then they put the intro. We're walking, but the intro doesn't start until we're like midfield, like you said. So the caballos comienzan. El mío brincó.
The horse freaking takes off, man.
No, deja tú, it takes off, and then the guy, el guy, que was cuidando el caballo, whatever, he went and caught me, right? And all this is going on while people are going, I think the intro, waiting for Palomino to go on stage.
Johnny's?
And aquellos ya estaban en stage, y yo acá andaba ya en otra parte.
You know, so for a horseback ride.
No, deja tú. And then when he tried getting the horse, porque lo agarró, ¿verdad? Lo agarró así las riendas, ¿no? Lo agarró así. Y pues se acercó el caballo al otro. La leg. Me apachurró la leg, dije, me quebró la leg. Y estaba así, tanto que cuando they were waiting for me, like, hey, Johnny, así acababa el intro y whatever, cuando llegué ahí, manqueando.
Just so you know, that was not my idea.
But it was an experience I will never forget, man. Because
that you'll never do again.
But people did really freak out when they saw everything. You know.
Oh man, it was great watching the guys ride in with these horses and the wagon.
Yeah, because
own horse, man.
Yeah, because like está oscuro.
Yeah.
Entra el intro. There's like what 5,000-6,000 people in there.
Yeah, and then a spotlight on you guys.
And then a spotlight was following us.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Y no más que me perdí de la spotlight.
But it was hilarious, man. And that was not my idea. Just FYI. I'm serious.
Well, it was an experience you'll never forget. I'll tell you that much.
I'll never forget it. I'll forever remember AC for that one.
He'll never get on a horse again for the rest of his life.
No quieran palominos.
Listen, real quick, man. I also want to talk to you about, but you guys were at my wedding.
Right.
And by the way, my ex-wife is a good friend of Los Palominos, no?
Very good friend, yes. Who messed it up?
I ain't afraid to admit it. But anyway, you guys go way back with songwriting with her, no?
With, was her dad. You know, we never got to meet her dad, but one of her first hits on the Corazón de Cristal CD were from her dad. And then siguió enviando canciones and from different writers or whatever. And
they had a publishing, so
that's how we met her and her mom. And
it was one hell of a party, no?
Yes,
it was.
Yeah.
It is.
One hell of a lineup, right?
Oh man, let's see. Oh God, I can't even remember. It was a complete blur, man. But anyway, I remember dancing on the dance floor next to Ramon Ayala doing the YMCA.
Now you know it was a party if Ramon Ayala was doing the YMCA next to you, right?
No shit.
You'll never see that again.
I said, is this really happening?
I remember, I freaked out with that one. I remember that.
Yeah, and it was amazing. It was a lot of fun, but that was short-lived. Anyway, I've been a fan of Palominos. We talk about everything that the CD that I remember, Entre la Espada y la Pared.
Yeah,
that's number one.
Oh man, tell me about that. You weren't with Sony yet, or were you?
That was our very first one with Sony. As a matter of fact, there's no CD on it. You know,
no way.
It was an LP. It was vinyl actually, and they're coming back now.
No,
pero mira, not even the vinyl had a picture. Era nomás dije Sony. You know,
so now that's
for people who don't know the whole story behind the Sony thing, Palominos. When we started, we
can talk about it.
We can talk about it now or whenever. Well, anyway, I remember we played with La Mafia. We opened up for La Mafia in Uvalde. And there was a promoter there by the name of AC Cruz. They used to make the dances there. And he's originally, I think, from Kerrville, Uvalde, around that area. And so we did a show with him there. And I remember after the show, Leonard came up to us and asked, hey, y'all recording with anybody professionally or do anything? We go, no contracts with you? Nope. I think we were freshly out of high school.
This is in 89.
Yeah. And that show happened. He said, well, we might be in contact with you guys pretty soon. Well, that happened maybe 3 months later. We played in Kerrville, opened up again for La Mafia. And again, I remember we were playing on stage, and they had like a dressing room on the side. And the whole set that we were playing, the whole band was like, they had their heads sticking out of the door, like, just checking us out, And so after the show, Leonard comes up again and he says, we'll be calling you guys Monday. And sure thing, on Monday, Henry, which is Oscar and Leonard's older brother, called my dad, and he said that they were interested in maybe doing some recordings and signing the band for a contract, recording contract or something. And so they asked us to go to Houston. We talked to Mando and Leonard and Oscar and everybody. And that's a crazy thing that, the relationship with La Mafia as far as music, with Mando being our producer, and he's pretty much the one that helped us create the style of Los Palominos. Yeah. But the crazy thing is that the first person that actually started the whole contact with us was Leonard. From Oscar's brother. So we started going in the world, opening up for La Mafia, doing different shows here in the state of Texas. And when we get there early, Mando would get with us and say, hey, maybe we should try some songs so we can start, working on a demo. To pitch to the labels and stuff.
During sound check?
Yeah. Awesome. So we started, messing around, doing some songs, and that's how En Un Buque de Rosas came upon, En Un Buque de Rosas, they had already done it in the Norteña album, the Herencia Norteña. And Mando said, I think this is it's a Luis Silva song. He said, I think this would be a good song for you guys to, kind of record on your first demo. So we started doing that one. And so Mando started pitching the he went with Sony, of course, for the first label to pitch the demo, and they really didn't like the sound, and they didn't like what we were doing. Yeah, and so somehow I guess we found out later on through the years, we found out that La Mafia was, of course, the band for Sony back in the day. You know, they were it. You know, the priority exactly.
So back in the day, La Fiebre, La Sombra, Mas. That was the kind of music that was hitting, you know. Even David Mares was sold out. That CD.
It was accordion music really wasn't the norteño sound back in the day. Yeah. So anyway, so we hear later on that they gave us a contract with Sony as a favor to Mando from the Mafia, because I guess he said some strong words and said we probably won't renew our contract. Blah, blah, blah. I don't really know.
Mando never told us.
We don't really know what happened. We just know that we were signed to Sony as a favor to Mando from the Mafia, and so we do in the Bouquet de Rosas. We actually did 2 singles, and then they finally gave us an approval for a whole album. Which was actually an album, we didn't do a CD. It was an actual vinyl album and a cassette.
LP,
exactly.
Yeah.
So that was the first thing. The first album that came out was Entre la Espalda y la Pared. Which
I love that song.
Yeah, and a lot of people when they hear it, I mean, they say this is the album that turned me on to los Palominos. But the album that really put us in the map was the Corazón de Cristal album, which was actually 2 albums later.
Okay, I'm going to get to that, but listen. So what you're saying basically is that what was the name of the LP? The
Entre la Espalda y la Pared.
Okay, now is that a collector's item because nobody has it?
Nobody has it right now.
And it's discontinued. They don't make it.
Have you seen it? Has anybody presented it to you?
The album?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we have the album, but I mean, I haven't seen many.
If a fan were to come up to you during an autograph session and say, "Can you sign this?" and you see the long play, would you freak out?
Yeah.
Well, I'll freak out if they come out with the original because it was a cassette. I remember.
Oh, good.
And that's the other thing.
It was cassette. It was a cassette and an album. The album was for radio.
The cassette had a picture. The album didn't have a picture. It was just it was a promotional use, blah blah blah. And
so, which is more expensive, the cassette?
I would think the cassette because it's got the pictures and all the credits and everything.
How much would you pay for that?
I would pay maybe $200-300 for it easily.
I got a copy right now. I'm kidding.
and going back to the we were signed as a favor, right? We kind of put 2 and 2 together, whatever, like put all the puzzles together, and we're like, because nunca nos hicieron un poster, like when they poster for promotion and stuff like that. Mando had to take a picture. We went to Houston. I remember driving to Houston, and we got into this ranch. It's named.
That's another funny story.
Yeah,
let me tell you.
It's named George Ranch.
The George Ranch.
It's a big ranch right there by cerquita de Houston, and we went in and we were taking pictures because this is a nice area. He's always shooting for the norteño, the country kind of look, right? So we crossed the fence and we're telling, hey, look, this is a big, a nice como un vagón, un tren, like a piece of a train, like on tracks y todo. Let's take a picture there. So we went and we're taking pictures, and de repente salió alguien, hey, they're trying to run us off, no? Corre, take the picture, and we ran, right? This is in 90, because the album came out in 91. So Mando made the posters or the 8x10s or whatever for promotion, right? And 8 years later, in 99, we rented the ranch to do the Por Eso Te Amo video.
I love it. That's great.
And then the crazy thing was that the crazy thing is that when we did the photo shoot illegally, in those tracks, we were looking for a label. Like we were like trying to do whatever we could to try and get somebody to sign us. Mm-hmm. And I remember the day we were signing the Por Eso Te Amo's video, Sony was begging us to renew a contract. They showed up with a contract and a check for like I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of dollars to resign. So it's like the contrast of things. It's so crazy
to resign. Pero ya para entonces, we give a lot of credit to La Mafia because La Mafia they mentored us or coached us.
Sure,
exactly. We would always go to them for information and advice and stuff like that. Sure. So by then, by 99, we already pretty much knew how everything was going, right? Yeah. So for us to re-sign with Sony was offering us a good contract, for 5 albums. And by then, we already knew Sony didn't have, they were losing people, they didn't have the people to take us to the next level.
Yeah.
So we were looking for distribution. Also, we had already visited North Carolina, South Carolina, Kentucky, all these states.
Yeah.
We didn't see no Sony products. We would see EMI, we would see Fonovisa, and that's another story. That's how we came, to sign with Fonovisa after the fact, after that happened. So,
The first podcast that I did with Bobby Pulido, he says, Palominos are the best, man. Corazón de Cristal. I said, right, I agree with you wholeheartedly. He says, that CD went 8 deep, which means you had like 8 songs to work with off that CD. Aposté Ganar. Please, tell me.
Aposté Ganar, Ven y Baila, No Quiero Volver, Todos Lloramos. What's the other one? Quise Olvidarte, Adelante.
I'm gonna have to slap you in a minute because you pick up your head and start it at my goddamn.
But you know, it was 10 songs.
Yeah.
And 8 of them were singles.
That's what I'm saying, man. I mean, nobody's done that since. We also mentioned David Lee had a strong album with 1392.
Right.
But I haven't heard of anybody going 10 deep. I mean, 8 deep.
Yeah. It was something that, you know, and we recorded that album in 93. We didn't record the next album until late 95. So it was almost 2 years, yeah.
Wow.
That had never happened. And I'm thinking that's when, because going back to when
Sony?
we were assigned as a favor. I remember Mando told us about that because he was very mad. He said, I mean, he never told us that it was signed as a favor, but he would say, man, they didn't want to sign on. You want to sign? And I told Ray, I said, these guys are going to be one of your biggest sellers. But, you know, he said that, and because Mando kind of had a vision, he said, I see Tejano music. I see el acordeón being the dominant instrument.
¿Y qué fue?
Y lo que pasó.
That's what it is.
You know, and you get there's this paper that I read in Houston one time where porque salió Corazón de Cristal. The reason that we recorded Corazón de Cristal the way we recorded it, because there's 3 cumbias: No Quiero Volver, Ven y Baila, and Corazón de Cristal on that album. We had recorded the whole album with accordion, and Mando was like, man, we can't get a song to be played on the radio, but because they only play Ramon. If you're an accordion band, they only play Ramon.
Yeah.
So I even remember that back in KWW. They wouldn't play anybody else in KWW.
And who came through? Who came through?
AC Cruz.
Damn right. Damn right.
But you know what? And then, you know, I remember because in 93, we came out with Corazón de Cristal. The reason why Mando said, you know what? Let's redo the cumbias. So we redid the cumbias, le quitamos el acordeón, and we did keyboards, teclado, dice Mando. I'm thinking kind of like, back in the days, like Bronco, que no quede huella. So a simple keyboard sound. Nothing strings, nothing like that, just something simple, like an accordeon, but keyboard. So he came in, let me sleep on it. The next day we were in the studio, and he's like, I want to do this. So can you play keyboard? I said, a little bit. Like, well, let's try this. And then we did something with the guitar and everything. So we came up with that. He said, Mando, because they see Los Palominos, because we would go to radio stations, a Tejano station, they would say, Los Palominos, nada, también norteño. We can't play it. We go to a Mexicano station. Nah, son Tejano. Sí. Like, what the hell? Who's gonna play us, man?
So we don't have a label.
So you know, we were getting a little airplay with en el Valle. Me acuerdo que se agarró un poquito de airplay with No Sabes Amar, No Sabes Amar.
Oh, sí, sí.
That song, and Mi Dos Amores was being played here.
I love that song. Mi Dos Amores. Right. I love that song.
You know,
I wonder why. Don't say nothing. Look at you see something.
My lips are sealed. Con mi compadre, sí.
Anyway, Los Amores was awesome, man. Now, let's see, 90 to 95, I was doing Top 40 Radio with B104 KBFM, and then when I jumped across to Que Pasa, I just said, dude, we're gonna play everything Palominos, man. I mean, you guys found out how big of a fan I was.
Yeah, I mean, como digo, going back to the story, Corazón de Cristal, that's the reason we did that. Mando said, we're going to hit him with all the DJs that don't want to play your music. They're going to hear this, and they're going to say, well, this is not Tejano, this is not Norteño, but it's a good song.
Yeah.
So they played it, and at the same time, I remember Mando buying, I don't remember, like $4,000 worth of gold necklaces. And we did that with every major station in Texas.
It's a giveaway, yeah.
That's a giveaway for 12 days of Christmas. So we did the 12 days of Christmas giveaway. The thing that was play the song 10 times and register 10 people. At the end of the night, regalar uno. And for 12 days.
That's great.
So,
man.
I mean, in some stations it just took off. The song just took off. And after that, you know, se agarró la canción esa. So the second single, dije, Mando, well, they're already asking for a second single. This is like 7 months later, right? Okay, le dije, pues, I want una de acordeón, Mando. That's the whole thing. That was the whole reason. We want que se oiga el acordeón, que entre el acordeón no tejano. So he said, Mando, you know what? Yeah, we'll go with either Aposté a Ganar or Todos Lloramos, whichever song. So I don't remember which one was released, but that's the one that changed the whole thing.
I think it was Aposté a Ganar. I think.
Bueno, everything changed. Then, porque me acuerdo que at the same time Tropa F was with Arcoiris and all these songs.
Which is a great song.
Yeah.
Great song.
But they wouldn't play, once ya que salió Aposté a Ganar, they started playing Corazón Herido, which is the acordeon.
Yeah.
And then salió Michael con Cruz de Madera.
Sí,
that was 94.
Sí.
You know, so it opened. I don't want to get all the credit for being the Tejano coming in, but
exactly, it was just the sound that was happening.
Intocable también entró con La Mentira.
Sí, por eso digo. So I mean, that was when you had to change the changing of the guard, if you will. I mean, because for being Tejano que pasa, I was going up against KGBT and KWW. Now, mind you, I would mix in a little bit of Intocable, a little bit of Límite, a little bit of Tigrillos, and it hit. Lo subíamos a los ratings, pero super gacho, ¿me entiendes? And I think that was the turning point when it came to Tejano music.
Started accepting that was what the new sound of Tejano was.
Exactly,
yeah.
man.
Mm-hmm.
We were programming for our audience, which is the Valley.
Yeah.
You program your station in Houston,
the way you want it,
and then San Antonio. What
they
now the sound started to change in Tejano. Everybody was doing accordion. ¿Me entiendes? So that was about the late 90s, mid 90s.
That's already 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And right now they're still talking about it, saying that no, it's not Tejano and this.
I know, right?
You have all these bands. You got Solido, you got Signo, you got
Duelo.
All these bands, and they're all Tejano. That's the new Tejano, what I say. This is the new run of Tejano, but all these old school people don't want to accept, and I think that's one of the reasons that Tejano Radio is dying,
We're working on a new album right now.
Exactly.
Matter of fact, you keep posting on Facebook and Instagram and todo eso, and I'm wondering when it's going to come out.
Right now, we're still on the mixing process. Hey, we want to repeat that 8 deep.
Well, good luck.
Well, good luck with that.
No, good luck, man.
Hey, no, now we went a 1 deep at least.
No doubt.
You're lucky one single comes out of the whole CD,
I was calling Eloy Leja from Freddie Records yesterday. He said, "Here, somebody wants to talk to you." I'm not going to say who. I said, "Who's that?" And then I hear the voice say, "Meet me across the street." I said, "Oh shit, I know who this is." There's only one man that I said, "Meet me across the street." Era como para tirar chingado. But he told me, he says, "AC, I haven't talked like that in a long time, man." I said, that freaked me out when I heard you say that. But anyway, tell him I said hello. And tell him that I'll meet him across the street.
We'll tell him that.
Yeah, when do you guys go back in the studio?
I think
September 30th?
The 30th, yeah. On a Sunday, we'll be working on that. On lo que es lo último del CD. And then ya vienen las fotos, el video, and stuff like that. But we're excited about this CD because this is our second with Freddie. The first one, fíjate que it had like five singles that came out of the CD. And that's one thing that Freddie also said, man, all these songs, we can't pick a single. Like, well, that's the idea, man. That's what we've always tried for, to get a CD. And when you can't pick a single out, you have a good CD. A
lot of the record labels and the bands would always come to me and say, AC, pick a single for me. I'm sure they did it with a bunch of program directors, but hey, whatever. Anyway, I said, this is good. Eso no vale. That's good.
Eso no vale.
Yeah, I was honest.
You asked for my opinion. I'm giving my opinion. No, but seriously, man, with regards to the 8 deep and the 4 deep, 5 deep,
I think it's 4 or 5.
I think it's 4.
4.
Awesome.
And also with the Grammy nomination, because I remember Freddie Jr., he's the one that I guess is in charge of the promotion and everything that goes on behind the marketing of the CD. He told me that day he was submitting the album because you have to submit it and then voters do whatever they do.
Yeah.
He said, "I want to submit it, Johnny. Where you want me to submit it? In the Tejano or the Norteño?" I said, "You know what? Put it in the Norteño." I said because we've been everywhere. We've been in Mexico. We've been everywhere. We got a lot of Mexicano followers. So why just do Tejano? I said, put on Norteño. And then it turns out that a little bit after that, the Tejano category was taken out or something, because not that many submissions and stuff like that. So we were left with a Norteño. And I said, yeah, leave el Norteño. Como quiera, le dije, if we lose, we're gonna lose to some big shots.
Big names, yeah.
And the Tejano, if we lose, we don't know who you're gonna lose to.
Exactly.
So I say, let's put on Norteño, okay. And then de repente, a couple months later, hey Johnny, congratulations, you're nominated for the final 5. I said, wow, okay, cool, great. I mean, I said, yeah, we're going to Vegas or whatever. So we weren't thinking of winning,
AC's not going to Vegas.
You'll miss the whole thing anyway.
Nothing's gonna happen.
That's funny. That's
you missed the Grammys?
You know what? I got a story about that. Go ahead.
We'll talk about that later.
Oh, man. Me and Hugo de la Cruz from the Valley.
Hijo,
No,
hombre.
hombre. Go ahead.
Hey, pero no, and as a matter of fact, fuimos a los Grammys and y pues ganamos, we ganamos and I thought we were gonna get a lot of negative, from the norteño, peeps or fans or radio. No, a lot of radio people calling us, hey, queremos una entrevista porque son los ganadores del premio Grammy para los norteños, felicidades, and that sets a lot for us because
the other thing that kind of surprised us was that I remember we were at the Grammys already and some guys were talking to the guys from Huracanes, one of the names that was against us, and they asked one of the guys from Huracanes, so what do you think? What are your chances, winning the Grammy? And he said clearly, no, Palominos will probably take it.
I love it.
And it's like, I mean, it's surprising to hear that, but it's...
Qué buena onda. Que
exactly.
Están reconociendo...
Exactly, que reconocen que el grupo ya tiene trayectoria, tiene su carrera, solo que es bonito saber que también los grupos que tienen, porque Huracanes también obviamente es un grupo muy reconocido, con mucha trayectoria también, pero al saber que respetan el nombre de Palominos, pues nos da a nosotros también un gusto. Yeah.
Now, how many Grammys do you have right now?
We got 4. 3 Latin and 1 American.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
We have like 9 or 10 nominations. So
that's awesome, man. That is awesome.
And it all started when we left Sony.
So tell us how you really feel.
No, it's a funny story. The first nomination that we ever.
Wait, did you see you pull the mic? You pulled the mic.
He's getting serious now.
The important facts we gotta.
It started peaking, distorting it.
Sony. Hey, you said anything. You said anything goes, man. So.
I want to make sure you hear this loud and clear.
Hold on.
Me estás oyendo, Ray.
Está viendo madre. Ay, Dios mío. Give me. Oh, damn. Oh, God. Am I ready?
I think we're ready.
Oh, God. Hilarious. You guys kill me. Okay. Honestly.
Okay, back
so
to the
conversation.
Take a deep breath.
Okay. Hablando de Sony, ¿qué fue?
Hablando de bueno, era let me get close.
Make sure you hear it loud and clear, man.
No, when this is an album de Por Eso Te Amo. What happened with us with Sony was era un contrato de 5 discos y uno optional, which was cuando estábamos grabando el Te Seguiré, Manu, when Jesse was sick. Es cuando estaban poniendo presión que we need another album, whatever. And we were like, okay, let's go record. We'll do whatever we can so we can record an album too.
Mientras que tu hermano está en el hospital, ¿verdad?
Yeah, they had just diagnosed him, and then they were over here, con la mente en otra parte, and we were like, man, and they get an album. And then after we record the album, and dice Mando, we already knew we want to leave Sony. We don't like these people.
De la Mafia.
Yeah, we would talk and say, you know what, Mando? Dice Mando, yeah, no conviene. Nosotros vamos a salir también. Dice Mando, Mafia's going to get out. You know what? Yeah, let's get out. They don't even have the people, the distribution. They don't have what we need. So we were like, está bueno, vamos a salir. The minute that we announced that we were gonna, that was the final album. They put us against the wall. They're like, we need another album. If not, we're not gonna let you record by law for 2 years.
Wow.
He said, Mando, you don't want to mess with that. He said, you don't want to fight against the label. That's what happened to La Fiebre. They were telling us that something like that was happened to one of the bands. I don't know what band was it, but it parked them. They shelved the band and se les acabó la carrera. And nosotros were like, you know what? Dice Mando, but you know what? I think the attorney can fight for, let's renegotiate one album. And we renegotiated Por Eso Te Amo. And that negotiation, le dije, Mando, you know what? But I don't want Raymar there. And he said, Mando, okay, well, maybe they can arrange that or whatever. So es como José Rosario ended up in Sony.
Yeah, I know.
So, and cuando sacamos el disco, Me acuerdo que hizo José Rosario, man, we got a good album here. You know, we were there at his office and whatever. You know what? I'm going to submit it in the Grammys. I mean, I think it's a good album and we're going to do great or whatever. I just want to let y'all know that it's going to be, we're going to put it in the album, see if it's nominated or not. First submission, nomination, we got nominated. And we won.
Awesome.
And it was an American Grammy. It was a Latin.
And this is the same album that we had rented George Ranch to do the video, right? And ahí andaba somebody from Sony with a check. Hey, here, you want to resign, whatever, for 5 albums. I said, hey, this is only this album, man.
And you went, no.
So we had already put on the clause this album, and then once we turn this album, we can go and record anybody else. So that's how that happened. So, Por Eso Te Amo is our very first nomination for the Grammys. We won a Grammy, and then the first annual Latin Grammys were held the following year. This is September and March, and we won. That's the only album that's won 2 Grammys, an American and a Latin Grammy. That's same.
You mean in whatever genre?
Yeah, in history, and it's
the Tejano, Norteño genres or regional Mexican, whatever you have. That same album won the original
for best
Grammy.
Tejano performance on the American and
the first annual Latin Grammys. So,
that's amazing. See, shit like this, I didn't know. That's why you're behind the mic.
And there's another thing that happened with that. We during that, fíjate, porque Por Eso Te Amo, we won the Grammy in September or November, whenever it was held, November. And it got nominated, would tell us, it got nominated for the Latin Grammys, which would be held in February or March or something like that. Okay? So, by the time February came around, ya no habíamos salido de Sony, ya estábamos negociando con Fonovisa. We were already taking the pictures for the Obsesión album, which is Obsesión Te Quiero Más. We were taking pictures, doing the video while the Grammys are going on. We boycotted the Grammys. Why? Because the Latin Grammys were held on, they were televised on a CBS, and they weren't televised on a Latin network. Plus, they had Justin Bieber, they had Jessica Simpson, they had all these artists perform. And he was, where's Vicente? Where's Juan Gabriel? Where's all our icons? You know.
So a lot of regional Mexican artists had boycotted the Latin Grammys, the first annual Latin Grammys, because they weren't participating in the Grammys.
I think the following year that was Tigres, right? Tigres del Norte, or
I think something like that. Yeah.
I think so.
And
but I remember that first year, all the bands from Fonovisa, including Tigres and it was Temerarios, they all boycotted the
Norteño was Tigres, Grupero, Temerarios, Palominos, Tejano, Norteño era Primavera, right? I think
so.
All the artists we boycotted.
They were all from Fonovisa.
They even flew us to Florida, do all the TV shows and talk about it. You know, so we returned the Grammy.
Oh,
yeah, they gave us the Grammy, and we didn't even show up to the awards, and then we sent it back, and then
telling them that, you know, hey, we're Latinos, but we got our big artists, and we got, you know, we don't need no American artists to represent, you know, the Grammys. You know, there's a bunch of, you know, we got Vicente, we got Juan Gabriel, we got, you know, all these mainstream artists. So we all talk about the same thing. We were all doing TV shows, Don Francisco, Despierta América, Primer Impacto, all these shows. So we got a lot of publicity out of this. So we returned the Grammys like a year later. Mm-hmm. They sent us the Grammy back.
I love it. You guys are badass, man. You guys are badass.
I mean, tú tenías una gran parte, has formado una gran parte de nosotros cuando empezamos en el Valle, you know. It was all, we owe it out to you.
No. Porque you guys deserve whatever you get, man. I'm going to tell you right now. Because you guys provided a platform. You guys knocked out of the park with your talent.
Exactly. Pero, como politics, ¿no? Teníamos que entrar. Tenía que haber una manera como entrar, you know, and you helped us out with that. So we're very forever grateful. And el Valle sigue siendo en las fuertes plazas para Palomino. So, gracias a ti, gracias a la gente que nos sigue apoyando, you know, a través de 27, 28 years, vamos ya a completar, and we're still bringing out music, and people are still, you know, liking it. So.
And where are you going to be over the next couple of months?
In October, ahorita estamos trabajando. By late October, I think we're going to be in California. We're doing a couple of weeks in California, and then another week in Indiana, Ohio, and I don't remember the other state. But we'll be out of state, lo que es el mes de octubre. So we'll be, of course, they can listen to the podcast everywhere.
Exactly.
Todo el mundo. So,
worldwide, buddy.
Un saludo para toda la raza. Por allá estaremos, o si estamos ahí, un saludo.
And check the website, your website también, ¿no?
Yeah, check our Facebook. Our Facebook, Los Palominos, Palominos. A lot of people get mistaken. It's Los.Palominos. That's our Facebook, where people can find what we're going to be, or de repente estamos live, just mentioning where we're going to be and stuff like that. So.
I didn't ask Michael Salgado. He volunteered to give me some merchandise to give away during my podcast. I'm just saying that
Seguro?
maybe Palominos can have a few T-shirts or caps fall off the truck. You know what I'm saying? And we can give away on this podcast.
Seguro, yeah, we'll do that.
Autographed.
We'll do that. Sure.
¿Qué más quieres, cabrón?
No lo quieres con serenata y no te trae.
Ay, Dios mío. Johnny, James, Los Palominos, thank you so much, man. I wish you all the best. By the way, I know that you were busy doing promotion when my sister had her benefit for her cancer, which is done now.
By the way, gracias a Dios, ¿verdad? Un saludo a ella. And,
you were willing to come back from the valley because you've been there all day. You said, AC, I would like to make it, but I don't know what time we'll be there in San Antonio.
Exactly.
I'm probably going to get there at 9, 10 o'clock. I said, you know what? Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
A veces hay cosas, ¿verdad? Que cuando pasan 2, 3 cosas al mismo tiempo, right? And estás haciendo algo y cuando tienes todo el tiempo para hacer algo, you don't have nothing to do, and it so happened that happened during that time. Pero como te digo siempre,
estaba Marco Salgado y varios que nos apoyaron y ya sé que ustedes estaban en mente, ¿me entiendes?
We were there, AC. Primero Dios, we're there. Si nos presta salud en cualquier otro evento que tengas, we'll be there. Un saludo a tu hermana. I know that we haven't seen her in a good while. Un saludo y gracias por el apoyo que siempre nos ha venido también a nosotros.
Oye, y también I think I'm going to have a benefit concert. Hoping you guys will play. It's going to be to cover my bar tab down the street.
¿Cuánto debes, hombre?
200 bolas. 200 bolas. So you have to play that long.
Nada más págame los roadies.
Hermano, gracias por todo, hermano. Los Palominos, ladies and gentlemen. Fuerte aplauso.
Thank you. Gracias.
Hey. There you go. Los Palominos. Los hermanos Arriola. Oh, goodness. Well, listen, that wraps it up for me and the guys. Hector Reyes, Hired Gun Productions. Graphic art, Mark Leos. And you. I'm going to go ahead and say see ya. But first, remember, give us some feedback. Let us know what you think about the podcast. So until then, if you like the show, tell your friends. If your friends don't like the show, find new friends. Chill. To the next episode, Cruise Control with AC Cruz behind the mic.